Is Abdul not charismatic? Of course he is. And on top of that, he had the background. He had the experience. So why did he not get the same recognition? 2 candidates, 2 Senate races. 2 candidates, 2 Senate races. He was asked about Graham Platner earlier today, and he, of course, also said that Graham Platner should drop out, obviously.
I wanted to ask, given that you have a sort of ascendant role in the Democratic Party, could you talk about the Maine Senate race? Do you think that Graham Platner should drop out of the race? And do you have any intention of endorsing any candidates in competitive races outside of New York, El Said, or anyone else?
No, I believe that it's time for him to drop out of the race. And when it comes to my own endorsements, I've made 8 endorsements at the state and federal level. They've all been right here in New York City. I'm incredibly excited at the fact that they won their races, and that's where my focus is for now.
This motherfucker's always got some shit to say and drip to wear. Okay? I'm sick and tired of it. I'll say it. I'm sick and tired of it. You got to redistribute the drip, my man. You can't just be wearing the drip just by yourself, all on your own lonesome. Okay? What kind of socialism is this shit? What kind of socialism is this shit? It turns out I am now a reactionary conservative. It turns out they were right. Okay? It turns out they were fucking right. The Republicans were right. Socialism only means the tippy top gets the drip. Nobody else. Yeah, drip for me, not for thee.
You know, I think the focus of today should be to respond to the gravity of what so many of us have read. And I think that the only appropriate response is for the campaign to come to an end.
We turn now to a stunning new allegation rocking a pivotal contest for the U.S. Senate in November. Maine Democratic nominee Graham Platner is accused of rape by a woman he once dated, a claim Platner denies. At least 13 Democrats are now calling on Platner to drop out of the race. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning to you, Natalie. Well, Graham Platner is vigorously denying this allegation, but he did say he is taking time to reflect on the path forward. And Democrats in Maine and across the country are calling on him to drop out ahead of a key ballot deadline just days away.
Graham Platner, once considered a rising star in the Democratic Party, now facing an allegation of sexual assault from a woman he alleged to have dated 5 years ago. Jenny Rassicott told Politico she first met Platner in 2019 and that their relationship...
Isn't it fucking weird that there wasn't this level of outrage from people like Shannon Watts and Neera Tanden and Eric Swalwell? I wonder why. Yeah, because for the record, Neera Tanden is a massive Clinton booster. She worked with the Clintons her whole life. Okay? They don't give a shit about rape allegations if it's their guy. We care about it, right? They don't have any fucking consistency. Get the hell out of here. What are we doing? They rode for Andrew Cuomo against Zohran Mamdani. Speaking of Zohran Mamdani, new AP polling on Jewish Americans, Mamdani, 44% favorable, 39% unfavorable. Mamdani is at a +5 with American Jews. Netanyahu is at a -27 with American Jews. And Trump is at a -42 with American Jews. Interesting. Yeah. Replace Zohran Mamdani with the word Israel, and it's not so funny, is it? That's right. Replace the name Zohran Mamdani with anti-Semitism, and all of a sudden, you see a very different picture. Not so funny, is it? How about that? % of Jewish adults say Israel has committed genocide, although about half, 49%, say it has not. This is being base boosted generationally. Easy explanation. 30% of those surveyed are imbeciles. This guy says. How crazy is it that about 1/3 of America's a massive erosion? AP Norc poll, about 3 in 10 U.S. adults believe Israel has committed a genocide against the Palestinians. Devastating numbers, by the way, for the truth. Devastating numbers. Americans are still, by and large, the most propagandized population. Like North Korea levels, straight up. Like what we perceive as happening in North Korea is unironically happening in America. And it's far more sinister in some respects because it's not so like direct and deliberate and flagrant, right? It's just like people genuinely think that there is no propaganda that's at play here, which makes it somehow more insidious. Also, speaking of propaganda, we haven't carried the flame in a couple days. We're at level 3 on the hype train right now. If you want to carry the flame, please subscribe, which you can do for $6 or for free. Okay, you can subscribe for $6 or for free, or by gifting a sub. Level 3 hype train at level 10 hype train. We carry the flame as always. Let's continue.
Was consensual until one night in 2021 when she alleges Platner came to her home uninvited, forced her to have sex after she repeatedly told him to stop. She told Politico Platner was, quote, almost blackout drunk and said, quote, I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice. In a separate interview with CNN, Rassicot claimed she feared for her safety.
He violated multiple layers of consent
Kaya.
that night by
Kaya,
coming into my home.
what are you doing?
When I asked him not to, and by advancing on me when I told him not to.
Platner, after postponing campaign events in recent days, responded in a video Monday afternoon.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorical.
Here's another thing that we found out, okay? You know how we found out that, there is no like real viable constituency of anti-Israel, anti-war sentiment on the right? You know how like simply being anti-Israel is not going to carry you to a victory if Donald Trump is against you, as we saw with the Thomas Massey equation? There is no liberal Trump, at least for the time being, okay? Because this is the liberal Trump moment. And the liberal voters, in my opinion, will probably crater in their support for Graham Platner after this accusation. And therefore, turns out, you can't have a serious rape accusation as a liberal that is also an outsider too when the institutions are not defending you, when the institutions have their knives out for you anyway. You're not going to be able to pull a Trump. Okay? You're not going to be able to pull a Trump, which I don't think is a bad thing, for the record. I just want to state my position on this. It's not a bad thing. That is a good thing. New York Times reporting that backs up your claims about the viewpoint of Maine voters. Of the nearly 24 Democrats interviewed in the state on Tuesday, most said they expected Mr. Platner to drop out of the race. Most said it was the right course. His ideas were great, but he has way too much baggage now, said John Murray, 80 years old, a retired mail carrier from Saco. But several, including Mr. Murray, said they would probably stick with Mr. Platner, 41, if he opted to remain on the ballot. The deadline for the candidate to formally withdraw from the race is Monday. We'd vote for a swamp frog or anyone to defeat Susan Collins, Mr. Murray said. Is it even fair to say that someone should have known this would happen? I mean, the only people I think that should have known this would happen were the people who did not sufficiently and thoroughly investigate Graham Platner's background. Let's be real. I think a lot of people that saw Graham Platner deliver a speech in a very convincing manner they fell in love with him. They were like, this guy has unbelievable talent in comparison to what Maine normally has. He has the look, the build, the CV that is, obviously not great for our perspective, but certainly something that Mainers responded positively to. And that was it. Because I don't see any reason why people try to make it seem as though like Graham Platner was not an effective communicator. I don't know why people make this argument for some reason. Like he, as I've said time and time again, regardless of skepticism or scrutiny, very clearly was connecting with Maine voters. And the reason why he was able to do that is because he was a very effective communicator. That's it. Yeah, coming out of the gate swinging with a Bernie endorsement day one, obviously frame one also helped him. But guess what, guys? It didn't help him as much as it helped, or it didn't help Abdul El-Sayed in the same way. This was always a tale of two races from my perspective. And I always made that comparison. Abdul El-Sayed also started early. Abdul El-Sayed also started frame one with a Bernie endorsement. And yet Abdul El-Sayed did not get the national attention until Haley Stevens and Mallory McMorrow, more importantly than Haley Stevens, came out and started yelling at Abdul El-Sayed because he had made the, at the time they thought it was an unwise decision. Turns out it was a very wise decision. Made the decision to campaign alongside a dangerous radical like myself. That's when that campaign became a national campaign. That's when people started paying close attention to Abdul El-Sayed. So why is it that Abdul El-Sayed did not get that national recognition? That is ironically what FD Signifier was pointing to. Is Abdul not charismatic? Of course he is. And on top of that, he had the background. He had the experience. So why did he not get the same recognition? Two candidates, two Senate races. Two candidates, two Senate races. What gives? He is no Platner in regards to charisma. I think you're wrong. Are you kidding me? He's great. Have you listened to his stump speech? It's fantastic. It's just as exciting as Graham Platner's is. This is also the Abdul story, though he had started with a leg up because he'd run before and had a different resume. Town halls everywhere, making himself much more available and visible to Dems than Stevens. McMorrow did this too, it just didn't work as well. No, I disagree with David a little bit, with Weigel a little bit. Okay? I think a large part of Platner's success in the primary, beyond expressing what his mainstream Dem view on Gaza, was holding town halls, laying out his views, and answering questions after questions. It's rare for polls to do that. He did that 80 plus. Agreed. But so did Abdul. So why was Abdul's chances nowhere near as good as Graham Platner's was? I think it's because a lot of people don't pay attention to radical candidates that embody that carry that populist rage in their attitude, in their policy, when those candidates aren't white guys. It's true. This was my primary point that I made over and over again. And there are still racist motherfuckers in the centrist democratic forces, the pro-Israel forces, that are trying to say Abdul doesn't have the juice, saying that Abdul doesn't have the credentials, the background. He has too many red flags, they say. What are those red flags? We ask what those red flags are, and there's never a decent answer for it beyond taking the long road home to say he's Muslim and brown. Okay? That's it. That's it. Anyway, let's get back to the story.
False.
The oyster farmer and Marine veteran is no
He's very millennial coded, to be fair. Abdul, yes, but that's not a That's not a negative. That's a positive. I mean, Zoran was too. This is the age of the phillennial, folks. While I find some of those instincts to be cringy, I think wine moms have a very different attitude. Okay? Let's be real. Zoran did a good number, a good deal of phillennial stuff as well. I think it is absolutely the age of the phillennial.
Stranger to controversies. During his primary
For good reason, we're skipping generation lead poisoning.
campaign, he faced scrutiny over a tattoo he later covered up after critics said it resembled a Nazi symbol and claims of toxic behavior from alleged previous romantic partners. Platner has denied those allegations, but said during that time he had been struggling with undiagnosed PTSD and was self-medicating with alcohol.
Regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward.
Now, this is one of those key races that could help determine which party has control of the U.S. Senate. And the pressure is building here on Platner to drop out. Get this. He has until July 13th to drop out of the race. And then the state Democratic Party in Maine could pick his replacement to take on longtime incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins in November. Gail.
Well, July 13th is next week. The clock is ticking. Thank you, Caitlin. CBS News political contributor, and Democratic strategist, that's Joel Payne, joins us now from Washington. Joel, many Democrats who stood by him are now saying he's got to go. Elizabeth Warren, Ro Khanna. And then some are looking at the Democrats and saying, why did it take this for you all to finally say he's got to go? What do you think is going to happen now?
Well, look, the hill is very high for Platner to scale to stay in the race. Not just national Democrats are speaking out against him, but a lot of local voices. The Maine Democratic Party, some members of the Maine congressional delegation have called for Platner to step aside. And look, these allegations are damning and they're serious. And I think that what a lot of Democrats are wrestling with right now is how did we get here? I think we got here because a candidate caught fire and really built a brand in the state.
This guy's a smaller head than you. I think is really inappropriate that you guys have this kind of attitude every time someone has broad shoulders. Okay? I think it's messed up. You guys see a broad-shouldered individual and you immediately assume that their head size is tiny. It's not. Okay? It's not the case. This is a perspective issue. Okay? And it's a significant issue and I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it, okay? What is this? Glad you finally got your first lead acting. Wide shoulders equals wide bed from my husband's short film. Okay, this might be literally age restricted. I'm not going to watch it.
And really built trust with voters. This is not a candidate who is someone who was placed in this position by national donors or national influencers. This is someone who really caught on locally. And when you have that, and you have an
thank God someone is making that assessment. Jesus Christ, it's definitely one that is unfortunately lost in the tit for tat shit slinging battle that's been taking place over the last 24 hours of this news cycle. Everyone has taken this credible rape accusation and has used it to pull out their I told you so's back and forth when no one, for some fucking weird reason, one, understands the significance of this, the significance of this problem, right, for the Senate majority, because the Senate majority means investigations, accountability, hurdles in front of the Trump administration, right? Like that's an absolute necessity. I cannot stress this enough. Okay. And the other problem is that if you don't recognize what forces gave Graham Platner his national prominence, if you simply think it's like, leftist Carhartt wearing phonies who know what the working class truly is, if you think that that's the case, then you're failing to comprehend the hundreds of thousands of Mainers that voted for him from not that background, right? It's incredibly stupid. All that remains for Graham Platner is to make the reasonable and considerate choice and not follow his own short-sighted, selfish desires. Imagine getting rid of your Nazi tattoo for nothing. Bro's probably pissed. He's like, dude, that's my emotional support Nazi tattoo, you fucking asshole.
Untested candidate who's never been vetted nationally. These are the types of things that a lot of Democrats fear could happen.
Well, and he has been leading in the polls against Republican Susan Collins, Joel. And he's already won the primary. But what would the process look like then if the Democrats would choose to go with another candidate? As we said, the clock is ticking. They have until early next week.
Yeah, well, as Caitlin alluded to, he's got until July 13th to decide whether or not to drop out of the race. And then there's a 2-week period until July 27th where local Democrats could choose somebody to replace Platner on the ticket. Now, there are already rumblings of the types of folks who could potentially replace him. Someone like Troy Jackson, who is a Democratic candidate for governor recently, Narav Shah, who's also a candidate for local office, are some of the names. And of course, there's Janet Mills, who Platner defeated in the Democratic primary, who's the sitting governor of the state right now as well. Those are some of the folks who people are discussing. I think what's challenging here for Democrats is making sure that if there is a change in candidate on the ballot, that Maine voters are people who have actually the say. This is not a decision that's put upon Maine voters, but this is a decision that comes from Maine voters. And I think that's a priority for a lot of folks who are thinking about what happens next.
All right, Joel Payne, thank you.
A woman who dated Maine U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner.
What happens if 1, he doesn't drop out? Does he still win or lose by a landslide? 2, what happens if they put a centrist Democrat back in the race? I suspect that he's using the threat of staying in the race to make sure that they don't fucking navigate. The centrist Democrats don't put like a fucking dog shit candidate who will literally lose the support of the ground. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Look, it doesn't matter. This is not about Graham Platner, right? He's out. That's clear. But if the Democrats come in and they're like, well, it's Janet Mills time, I cannot begin to explain to you how bad that will be, because it'll be a 2 for 1. A lot of people that voted for Graham Platner will not vote for Janet Mills because they voted against Janet Mills. They voted for Graham Platner. Okay? Like, I cannot, dude, this is unique. My unique fresh hell, okay? My unique fresh hell, specifically because this is not 1, but 2 different Kamala Harris 2.0 situations. And maybe even a taste of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Okay, fuck, my hair is out of control. Because there's 2 scenarios here, both in Maine and Michigan, where the Democrats are salivating at the fucking prospect of pulling another operation where they just do a no primary, hand-selected Democratic establishment candidate. Okay? That's what's going on here. Terrifying prospect. Terrifying prospect. New York had his back, baby. Yeah. Anyway. Let's take a look at Senator Bernie Sanders.
After a woman came forward in recent hours accusing Maine Senate candidate Graham Platner in a 2021 sexual assault, several top Democrats asking Platner to get out of the race. And now we're hearing from Senator Bernie Sanders.
Wait, did something happen with Abdul? No, they're just trying to use the Platner situation to fucking shit sling at Abdul. It's insane. But they are literally trying to. They are literally trying to put Haley Stevens in there, who's basically Hillary Rodham Clinton, basically Kamala Harris. Both of these people lost Michigan to Trump. Okay.
Vermont independent senator who confirms he got on the phone to talk to Platner today and asked Platner to step aside. The new allegations reported by Politico and CNN made by Jenny Rassicoat. She's a 41-year-old woman who dated Platner 5 years ago, claims he forced her to have sex despite objecting.
He violated multiple layers of consent that night by coming into my home when I asked him not to, and by advancing on me when I told him not to.
So let's talk about it live to CBS News political director Finn Gomez in Washington. Any response from Team Platner yet?
No, not yet. As of we do know that, after the story first broke, Platner issued a statement Monday denying the new allegations from his former romantic partner, Jenny Rassicoat, calling them, quote, categorically false, and issued a campaign video soon after the story first broke. Platner called the allegations, quote, troubling, serious, and false in a statement, and said accusations of non-consensual behavior as categorically untrue. The candidate went on to post a video to social media after the story broke. Take a listen.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false, regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict. We are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins.
He also acknowledged what he called the political reality surrounding the accusation read, which I find notable. He's saying it's time to reflect on the best path forward. He didn't say he's dropping out there, but he's also stopped short of saying he's going to stay in the race, and which in turn fueled speculation because Maine law gives Democrats only until next Monday, July 13th, for Platner to withdraw if they want to replace him on the general election ballot to face incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins, who's running for a sixth term.
And the hope, of course, by Democrats is to regain Congress and flip the balance of power in Congress. And this is a really crucial race. So what's the status of the race now? Let's play this out. Say Platner pulls out of the race. What happens next?
Well, look, right after the news first broke, top Democrats, including Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, concluded the situation in Maine had fundamentally changed, that the situation had changed there. Even early backers like progressive Congressman Ro Khanna, who campaigned with them last month, and Senators Martin Heinrich and Elizabeth Warren, who were close to Platner, had dropped their support. And now, as you mentioned, Senator Bernie Sanders, a top backer, weighed in and said that he has spoken with Platner about the best path forward for Maine in light of these very serious allegations, and he has recommended that he step aside. Also notable, Reed, that New York City Mayor Mamdani also said today that Platner should lead the race. Many Democrats I spoke to believe that the writing's on the wall here, and it's a long list of Democrats from establishment to the progressive wing who essentially no longer believe the progressive populist candidate can beat Susan Collins, who is running, who was once considered one of the most vulnerable Republicans this cycle. And again, if Platner withdraws by the state's July 13th deadline, Maine Democrats can choose a replacement nominee through the party process rather than holding another vote. Voters would not be involved. They have up until July 27th to make that replacement. Then that replacement, of course, would then face Collins in November. And remember, as you mentioned, why does this seat matter so much? Why does Maine matter so much? It's because Democrats view Maine as one of their best pickup opportunities, Reed, as they try to regain control of the Senate. Maine is a must-win for them. And there's some new developing news. According to the Bangor Daily News, former Maine Senate President Troy Jackson, a progressive, has filed with the FEC on today to form a Senate Exploratory Committee, becoming the first Democrat to formally campaign for that spot, according to the paper, if Platner appears to, if he vacates his nomination.
And has a clock to beat to do that. CBS News political director Finn Gomez. This is yet another one to watch. Glad you've got your glasses on, Finn. Thank you so much.
President Trump is in Turkey right now. He said this morning he will...
Oh, yeah. All right. Now let's get to Benjamin Netanyahu. the true president of the United States of America. Platner can now run and win the pedophilic elite with Trump's camp. Platner isn't Fetterman, but he's fucking the Democrats just the same. I know. Yeah, the Platner is John Fetterman conversation. I didn't really agree with, because John Fetterman is not John Fetterman pre-stroke. Okay. Like, I don't know why people always try to like tie this stuff together, and I think people will obviously continue doing that. Like, I've seen some people say, "Oh, you were wrong on Fetterman. You're wrong on Graham Platner." Like, I've acknowledged that the red flags with John Fetterman, I thought, were just him trying to avoid the money cannon from AIPAC. I have mentioned that because I knew that he was like shaky on Israel, but a lot of people, myself included, made the assessment that he's probably just trying to not get attacked nonstop. You know? But as far as John Fetterman goes, like, John Fetterman literally has gone back on fundamental planks of his policy platform that pertain to his personal existence. Undocumented migration, for example. His wife is an undocumented immigrant. His wife was an undocumented immigrant. He was very pro-immigrant. John Fetterman post-stroke is literally pro-ICE. The idea that, bro, he said he changed and opposes rape now, why don't we just forgive him? I like that. I know what you're trying to do here. I know what you're trying to say here, right? Like, I think redemption, even for someone like that, is possible. It's just that he has done nothing of the sort. Okay? He's done nothing of the sort. And I know you're going to turn around and say, well, what has he done for redemption in terms of American militarism or whatever? He's talked about his experience and how stupid all of it was, and how it was for nothing. He's denying it. Like, I don't know why people always fucking make it seem like Graham Platner was running around and being like, I loved the experience. I know that he has said something similar in his Reddit posts from many years ago, but when he was running a campaign, he wasn't like, I loved waging war. It was the most exciting, and the best thing. I want to send more people to go and fucking murder people overseas. Like that wasn't his output at all. As a matter of fact, if that was his output, I think people would probably be a little grossed out by it. You know? I mean, yes, he did low. No, he didn't. No, he did not. He did not.